Good evening, everybody. This is the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as a successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency Board for March 3rd, 2020. This is a 6 p.m. regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Pye.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Griffith. And Mayor Mattis.
Present. Mayor Pro Tem Griffith did call in sick. Unfortunately, he's under the weather right now. He should be better by the next meeting. Our well wishes go out to him. Tonight we have the invocation that's going to be given by Elder John Tinker from Word of Life. And then the flag salute will be given by, I think it's Councilmember Pye's turn.
Lord, we just thank you for this evening. We ask that bless our council and give them wisdom. And we thank you for that. And Lord, we also ask that you bless our great city staff and everything that goes on in here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 Thank you, John.
Please stand.
Please say the flag with enthusiasm. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit.
Do it again.
Well, the city attorney report on closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have no reportable action.
At this time, we'll move to approval of the agenda. At this time, we'll approve the agenda in whole, including the consent calendar. Does anybody want to pull anything off the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Motion is to approve the agenda as in whole. Anybody would like to speak on the consent calendar in public? Comments? No? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Move on to public comments. This time pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain professional, courteous decorum during public comments. Our first comment is Russ Martin from Mission Springs Water District, and this is in regards to the gold medal water.
You took the wind out of this.
You stole my thunder.
Yeah, you put it on there. So it's-
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Russ Martin, and as was stated, I'm a director for Mission Springs Water District, and I have some good news. At the 30th anniversary water tasting competition in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, the world's most prestigious water recognition competition in the world, gave out awards to waters from 3 continents and among 118 different entries. The municipal category water was a battle of champions, with the water judged best in the world, Mission Springs Water District. The silver medal was won by Mackay, Queensland, Australia, and the bronze was Ville des, you're going to have the French, okay? Ville des Centenaire from Quebec, Canada. The audience was filled with water enthusiasts coming from as far away as Australia and world travelers who attend searching out new waters to taste. 12 media judges spent hours tasting and selecting from waters sourced from 19 states, 5 Canadian provinces, and 16 foreign countries. Our total countries over the life of the event was 722 countries. This is indeed an honor for the Mission Springs Water District. It is our 9th gold medal overall and 3rd time winning gold. But it's also an honor for the city of Desert Hot Springs. as the category for the competition that we entered was Best Municipal Water. This award also is an economic benefit for Desert Hot Springs, as visitors from all over the world come to Desert Hot Springs for our natural hot mineral water and the world's best drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Always awesome to hear when the water wins these awards. Our next speaker is James Fields, followed by Ted Meyerhoffen.
Good evening. My name is James Fields. I live at 12802 Quando Way, Desert Hot Springs, California. I've been in this town for about 30 years, and it's all my dad's fault because he lives here. And I'm here on his behalf, really, because the lower part of Quando Way, where it actually turns into Two Bunch Palms, is so dark at night that he's almost gotten into like 3 accidents. And I was with him once, and that was scary. So I said, okay, Dad, I'll go and I'll speak on your behalf. But if there's any way that they can repaint the lines down there or put in those little reflector things, you know, that they have that stick up, so that the people that are, there's a lot of older people in this town, I'm sure other people have said anything about it, but if they can make it more visible so you can see down there, because it's very, very dark, right past Two Bunch Palms, but before you, it turns into Quando Way up there. Thank you,
Awesome.
that's all.
Before you leave, if you can see the city clerk and they can get your name, number, so if someone from Public Works can touch base with you. Thank you so much, James. Ted Meyerhoffen, followed by Sheila Thornton.
Yes, Mayor Mattis, Council, City Staff. I was curious if, it's been like 20 years since I've had any training with the Brown Act and Robert's Rules of Order, that kind of thing. So if you have a website or somewhere in the Coachella Valley, I might be able to go and get a refresher course. I would appreciate it. The second thing is, we have somebody running around here that ran against Mayor Mattis last election, pretending to be a news reporter. And I really thought it was unfair that he was interviewing people at a bus stop, asking what our mayor was responsible for their quality of life. I kind of started that rumor a couple of years ago, that the quality of life. But nobody ever really seemed to be clear on what the responsibilities of the city is for the quality of life for the citizens. So the best I could figure out is, for instance, park system. You do that not because there's a law you have to build a park, but for the citizens, to enhance people to come here with families and that type of thing. So the only legal obligation that I could find that the city had for the quality of life was to provide a police department, emergency services, which ensures that we have a quality of life. So I hope that that gets cleared up with our news reporter, and I hope he stops what he's up to. It degrades all of us as a city. Thank you.
Ted, are you still sitting on the Public Safety Commission?
Yes, sir.
We give free wow, it's gonna be one of those nights, tongue-tied, Brown Act, and Jennifer, I think, is a pro. I don't even know, what do they call you when you teach those classes? An expert? Thank you, that's a better word, an expert. So we can get you that training, and we'll follow up with the city manager's office for you. All right, Sheila Thornton, followed by Sandy Lyons. Dr. Sandy, you may. This is the last 2 cards I have. Anybody else like to speak in public comments? This is the final call.
We're a team tonight, and that's deliberate. I'm here on behalf of One Future Coachella Valley. Sandy, as you know, is the superintendent of Palm Springs Unified, but also is the on One Future's board. The 3 superintendents across the region choose who they'd like to sit on One Future's board, and so we've been blessed with Sandy for the last couple of years. And we made the decision this year to focus attention on renewing our commitment to education as economic development. Our board met with the 3 superintendents, and we really had a good conversation about what it means to maintain a focus on that for the coming years. We've been in this work together for about 15 years. We've been under a regional plan for college and career success for the past 6 years, and we're just just about to re-up that on, with Regional Plan 2.0. And this is all about education as a contributor to a vibrant regional economy. So Sandy's going to talk a little bit more about the school district, but I wanted to also say thank you to the City of Desert Hot Springs. We received your contribution this year, and you were the lead city in contributing to One Future Coachella Valley, and we are hopeful that other cities are going to follow suit. This makes a huge difference, not just in the lives of the residents of Desert Hot Springs, but also in our total economy for the Coachella Valley region. So thank you for your leadership role in that.
Good evening, Mayor, Council Member, wonderful staff. It's good to see you all and be on this side of the podium. I just wanted to say, as the Superintendent of Palm Springs Unified, we know it's really important that we focus on having our students understand that there's something beyond K-12. We are the workforce developers who are creating those pathways. We have robust pathways and academies at Desert Hot Springs, as you know, in public safety, education, renewable energy, digital media. And so we really appreciate that the City of Desert Hot Springs is supporting the work we're doing, not just for our community, but for the Coachella Valley overall. So we look for greater partnerships with work-based learning, that opportunity for linked learning for our students, which you're so great about. And I wanted to thank the City of Hot Springs for working with us on our Family Alliance that we're doing in Desert Hot Springs with One Future Coachella Valley facilitating to really draw attention to chronic absenteeism and to work as a community to make sure that our students are in school learning. So we feel very lucky to have a partnership with you, and we just wanted to come tonight and say thank you for that, and to invite you to continue to be active partners with us. Our students in Desert Hot Springs deserve every opportunity we can afford them, and we want to work with you to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I have no other public comments. Last, final, anyone? See no one coming forth. We'll close public comments. Move on to the city manager's report. At this time, city manager's report, but we're also going to give it over to Doria Whelms, who has an announcement about the coronavirus.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and residents. So, you know, in the wake of the coronavirus, we just want to take a really quick minute to update the community on some of the updates that we've received. I know that this is, you know, if you're listening to the media, can be a scary time, so we want to make sure that accurate information is getting out to the residents. So at this point, I want to let the community know that Riverside County has 0 confirmed cases of the coronavirus. Just prior to come to the meeting, I actually had a conversation with the duty officer for Riverside County Emergency Management Department, who once again confirmed that fact, and also went on to state that there are no plans within the county to cancel any large-scale events, as there are no confirmed cases nor signs of community spread taking place within the county of Riverside. I think that's really, really important that our community understands that. With that said, coronavirus or not, we are in flu season, and that means that the community should take precautions that limit the spread of influenza, common colds, and other illnesses. These are really, really normal, practical things. Stay home when you're sick, wash your hands frequently, cover your mouth and nose when you cough, avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands, and clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces. And like I said, coronavirus or not, this is flu season, and so these are just common practices to avoid the spread of these common illnesses. Finally, the mayor, city council, and city management are closely working with our state and county partners to monitor the latest updates on the coronavirus. If there comes a point in time where additional measures are required, we are prepared and ready to meet those challenges. With that said, we want to thank the community for their dedication in keeping themselves, their family members, and the community safe and healthy.
And as a mayor, if the way it works, the state releases a state of emergency, it goes to the counties do that, and then they'll ask the mayors to do it for their cities. Our county has not declared any state of emergency at this time, so I just wanted to make sure the public was clear on where we stood as a city, that we'll continue to monitor it. The PIO of the city, which is the Assistant City Manager, Doria Whelms, will continue to monitor it through reports from emergency services. So if there's any questions, just let us know. Luke, what do you got from the city manager's
Yes,
office?
so I've got a few more items to report. The first one is a somber announcement. We got results from the statewide park program last week on the proposed project for a park at the corner of 12th and Palm. And unfortunately, the city's application was not chosen. About 90% of the projects were not chosen and did not receive funding. This round 3 has been the most competitive grant program that they have had in their entire 50-year history. $255 million was available, and they received requests for $2.3 billion. So that gives you an idea that it was about a 1 to 10 ratio. So I was able to work with our advisor at the state on strengths and weaknesses of our application, and he honed in on one that was really a little bit out of our control. The 478 applications that they received, they used to form an average median household income. And our average median household income was actually above what the average was of those applications that they received. So that was something that was a bit out of our control, but that is one of the things that we lost points on. One of the things that was in our control was engaging the community, and I was really proud to hear when the state contact mentioned that our response to community engagement was superior in that category. So staff's going to take these items into advisement and look for opportunities on their next round. They have not announced actual dates, but they said it would be coming later this year. So that concludes this announcement, and we've got a few more announcements, first from Doria on some public works projects.
Again, good evening, Mayor, City Council. So we've put this out on social media, but I think it's important to actually give this update here as well. So as most of our community is aware, there was work that was performed on Palm Drive as part of the Palm Drive Pedestrian Safety Improvement Project that kind of has sat kind of in a state of undoneness for the last month and a half, 2 months or so. And there are reasons for that. So the work that was done was actually work that did not meet the technical specifications that were detailed in the contract plans and specification. So as a result, the city had contracted landmark geoengineers who completed coring of 4 samples to kind of assess the work and where it failed to meet those contractual obligations. The overall result of the testing indicated that the asphalt materials did meet the minimum material standards. However, the testing and report also indicated that the work did not meet the minimum technical specifications due to workmanship, temperature, and lack of binder with the joints. So with that said, the city did refuse to accept the work until the contract specifications were met. The original contractor has provided the following schedule for the required corrections, which will be completed at no additional cost to the city. So on March 10th, Pavement Recycling Solutions will complete asphalt grinding. March 12th and 13th, Maddich Corporation will execute a 1-inch asphalt overlay. March 16th, manhole and valve collar adjustments will be done, and then road race striping will immediately follow. In addition to all of that, the original contract will be amended to extend the warranty, the 1-year warranty initially that we did have, to 2 years after acceptance of the project. So with all that said, we do greatly appreciate all of the feedback from the community, and we thank the community for their patience as we work to facilitate the necessary corrective measures that needed to take place on this roadway. But it will be under construction starting mid-next week. And then Daniel Porras does have some additional updates on Phase 2, which will almost go kind of simultaneously to these redos on the project.
Thank you, Dora. Yes, so we have a lot of projects on Palm Drive, as you noticed, a whole bunch of different construction on both sides of the northbound and southbound. Phase 2 is actually about to begin. It started this week with some potholing, utility location, and some survey monuments that were completed in the field. They will continue the next 2 weeks. They're going to meet with staff. We're going to actually align where the streets are going to be cut, where the sidewalks going to be removed, and so forth. And in the 3rd week of this month, they will actually begin some heavy construction. So both of these projects are going to align. The Phase 2 project is from Two Bunch Palms all the way to Pearson. They will be doing it in various segments to try to minimize the amount of impacts to the businesses and the traffic, but we will have a full project completed all the way through from Camino Ventura all the way to Pearson in a few months. And also an update on the traffic signal projects. We have 2 new traffic signals on Palm and Desert View and 1 on Pearson and Cholla. The pole ship date has been confirmed for May 1st. That means that we have an updated completion for the end of July, and before the actual start of the school, which was a concern for a lot of residents and city council. So we do have a completion date of July 2020, which is great. We were able to push up the date a little bit closer than we originally expected. Thank you.
And one last quick announcement. One of the more exciting developments coming to the city that's really going to be a benefit to the residents is a new library. There is going to be a groundbreaking ceremony on Wednesday, April 1st at 10 a.m. at the site, which is on the corner of Park Lane and Palm Drive. That concludes my report.
And
Yes.
one more thing I was going to ask
Sure.
staff, and I think Doria just picked up the flyer, if you could announce the senior fair.
Absolutely.
So a senior resource fair will be held on Tuesday, March 24th from 8 to noon. This will take place at the Desert Hot Springs Health and Wellness Center, which is located at 11750 Choya Drive. There's free admission, refreshments, and shuttle service for our seniors who will be able to meet representatives from local groups providing information on healthcare, government services, community resources, and much more. We certainly wanted to make sure that our seniors had access to all the various information and resources that were out there. So at the mayor's direction, we did move forward with trying to get this together. And so that'll be taking place again Tuesday, March 24th, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Health and Wellness Center.
How do they get access to get that free shuttle?
I'm
Do they-
sorry, I couldn't hear that.
How do they get the free access to the shuttle?
So for information or shuttle scheduling, all they need to do is contact City Hall, 760-329-6411, or the Senior Center directly, 760-329-0222, to sign up for the shuttle services.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, move on to mayor and council member comments. Who wants to go first tonight? Ms. Pye.
The subcommittee of CVAC met February 19th, and there's a subcommittee which is called CVAC, and the reason for it was to find out who is going to take charge of the homeless. One suggestion was the Desert Healthcare District. And you had to keep in mind that as the healthcare district goes along, they may not want to do it when they change politicians. The other was a separate nonprofit group. I won't go into that. CVAG, and also a regional continuum of care. What we settled on is, the basic thing was you get people, continuing of care would be one where you have supervisors and they may change their mind. The main thing was who's responsible and who has the biggest claim in the game, and it's being responsible. I suggested, and the committee kept with it, that CVAC is responsible, the 9 cities, and that whether our political changes or doesn't change it, we still will be responsible to our citizens, and that we must do that. One of the questions that came to Tom Kurt was, what does he need to continue that? And what he needed was more administrative staff and contribution to the administrative staff. So Desert Hot Springs, Desert Healthcare District, the next day decided to fund that. So that's where we're going right now. No, that's where we're going with response to the homeless. I had the sheet here about the water, so I'm glad you talked about it. Councilmember Betts and I, Councilmember Gardner and I attended the 4th annual Soul of the Desert. And this was held on February 28th, and it's where the students at Desert Hot Springs High School get together. And to mention one of the things of Jarvis Crawford, who is a resident here, he announced that there was a group of people of all diversities that were there, and that we need to continue that. And they had a show of basically for the 90s where the kids and students perform, and they had vendors, and it was a very interesting event. It wasn't in the paper, but I did ride on behalf of Desert Hot Springs in the Black History Parade. And I played the music Let's Stay Together by Mr. Green. I also had with me John Michelle Terry III, and we call him Trey. And he is a senior at Desert Hot Springs High School, and he is their current homecoming king and the president of the Black Student Union. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, thanks. The announcement by staff on the coronavirus, appreciate that. We have friends and family that are living there and have gone through all that, and you just have to pray that nothing like that comes here. My wife's talking to her sister, and during the holiday they can't travel to a different part of the city. Talked to a friend of mine who's in business there and wasn't able to leave his apartment for 10 days. So I think we're a little bit fortunate here that we have a much better medical system than they do. So anyhow, thanks for that information you provided. Attended Sunline Transit Agency where I serve, representing the city on the JPA down there. And one of the items that came up was a suggestion that Sunline change its bylaws to allow an ex officio member from CVAG to sit on the Sunline Transit Agency Strategic Planning Committee. And it came through as, all of a sudden, hey, let's do this bylaw change. And I go, well, this is awful quick. I didn't quite, it just, boom, just popped up on the agenda. And, I was assured there was a very robust discussion at CVAG on the item, but it hadn't come to Sunline at all. And, I was thinking something that's bylaw changes and just something you just do quickly on a, study it for 5 minutes and vote. So anyhow, the board did have a pretty lively discussion on that one and ultimately decided that, this is something that needs to have a little bit more thought given to it. And I don't know if it rises to the point where this council needs to weigh in on that, but all of us, when we sit on these different boards and commissions, know that there's some point in time, we've all heard it said by other council members, and we've said it ourselves, this one's a little bit more than I can decide just on my own. I got to go get the council to maybe weigh in on this one. I don't know where that's going to go, but it might come back as an agenda item. That seemed to be some of the discussion there. And then the other thing was, is there any type of conflict? And each city, each member was asked to go back to their cities and have their city attorneys look and see, there may be something that's not compatible here where CVAG may be competing for the same transportation funds as would be Sunline. So anyhow, it's going to get a good look. And it was encouraging to see that everybody said, well, okay, well, there's no fire. Something needs to be decided instantly, and so that look's going to get taken. So anyhow, that was a major item of discussion down there. On the park grant, a little disappointing that we didn't get that. I guess there were 62 projects across the state that got that funding, and I would like to see that come back on the council agenda to see if there's something more that we can do or should do as a follow-up to that and get some discussion going. I can't talk to anybody here too much about it because it's not on the agenda tonight, but anyhow, it's something I'd like to see come back. We've got some good opportunity there. Staff did some great work to build the community input and support. I just don't want to see that die. I want to see if there's something we can do so I'd like to see that brought back on the agenda. Attended Southern California Association of Governments RENA subcommittee, and that was a really lively discussion up there. the way it works is you have a subcommittee working on the RENA numbers, which is the low and moderate income housing that gets divided up throughout Southern California. So there's a subcommittee that works on methodology, and then it goes up to community and, Community Economic and Human Development, CEHD committee, where they'll weigh in on it, and then it finally goes up to the regional council. So at this subcommittee, Orange County ended up getting a whole bunch of numbers that, well, they didn't want. They don't want any, apparently they don't want any low and moderate income housing. And they spent what must have been an hour and a half saying, this isn't equitable, this isn't equitable. It's not equitable, the numbers that they were getting. And I pointed out to them, well, you know, at one point in time, Desert Hot Springs, when we had 7,500 homes, had a requirement to build 9,500 low and moderate income homes, like more than our existing housing stock. And you look at the city of Coachella, even now in the new numbers that are very favorable to the outlying regions, they are at a huge number. So pointed out to Newport Beach and some of these other cities, if you take a look at how many homes you have and what your number is, if you want equitable, why don't we just switch the numbers around? Newport, you take Coachella's numbers, and Cerritos, you take our numbers, and we'll take yours. And our number would go way, way down. So anyhow, the vote came out the same. And it'll go on to Jan and I will be up there in that committee Thursday. So it'll be the same thing. I think we're gonna have to listen to another hour and a half of them saying the same thing over and over again. But the process has really worked this time, I think, for the outlying areas to where it's supposed to be, housing is supposed to be where the jobs are. That's, you know, need to create that type of housing, not where the available land is. I don't know how the thing got so mixed up that way, but anyhow, so that was an interesting discussion. There's gonna be more of it on Thursday. Just a few other things. Always get a lot of comments from the public out there and really appreciate it. Some of it came in on the Palm Drive, obviously. We've heard about that. Yeah, it's a bumpy road. Good news is it's gonna get fixed. The city was always well protected with bonds. So if something doesn't work, you know, the first thing people say is, well, how much is that going to cost us? Well, you know, the city does a pretty good job of protecting itself and making sure it doesn't cost us when a contractor messes up. So that's fixed. What I might suggest to staff, though, is now that we're away from that one section where there are no alternate routes, you know, coming up to Two Bunch Palms from the south, we do have alternate routes of Ocotillo, Mesquite, Cactus, and West. And if we could do something maybe to enhance the marking there, let people know you don't have to be stuck in this traffic on Palm. There's 4 other routes that you can take, but they might need some enhancement. Because I know at, for example, at Ocotillo and Hacienda, if people are using that as a route, it's pretty hard to get across Hacienda because everybody still thinks they're supposed to stop. Everybody that's crossing Ocotillo thinks the Hacienda traffic is supposed to stop. And then you have another problem, intersection at Mesquite and Ironwood, which is really dangerous. So you might want to look at that. But I would like to see if we get something set up there. Just a couple other things here. That's it. I had a good meeting with staff today. I appreciate the time with them. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
I got one more thing. There was a cleanup day. A group of people, Kevin Marshall said, hey, we want to do a cleanup. We noticed some of the lots are littered. So if anybody's interested, that's starting up again. Pretty robust in the past. Had about 10 people show up. Thank you for Desert Valley Disposal for providing the dumpster and Builder Supply for providing the trash bags and supplies, and the Miracle Springs provided a free breakfast. I think the next one's either going to be on the 14th or 15th, so if you watch social media and you want to join in, it was good fun. Get out there and pick up the lot, and you can see it's cleaner when it's done. So I had to mention that. Sorry. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm done.
Mr. Gardner?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. Attended the Palm Springs Air Museum Gala. Great event for this amazing museum in the valley. Met some great honorees, including the first African-American woman astronaut and one of the few surviving Tuskegee Airmen. It's always a great event and a real gem in the valley. If you haven't gone over to the Air Museum, it's well worth the visit. And as Councilmember Pai mentioned, attended the Taste of Soul put on by the Desert Hot Springs High School Black Student Union, which was a great way to wrap up Black History Month. The show was really cool. It was a lot of fun. The show was with the students and some of the faculty put on, featuring music and poetry, and spoken word was great. And the food was out of the park. So it was all a great event, and we have a great high school and a great black student union over there, and congratulations to them on that successful event. That's all I've got.
Well, that's easy.
Glad I didn't go on too long.
I'll be pretty brief myself tonight. On the 21st, as stated by Councilmember Gardner, I believe the whole city council was in attendance at the Palm Springs Air Museum Gala. We're a supporter of the Air Museum, who's a supporter of Desert Hot Springs. We support our senior services and other things with free tours. What was great about it is when you walk in the door, the junior ROTC program here in Desert Hot Springs was escorting each and every person into the main hall. So always great turnout for Desert Hot Springs. On the 26th of February, I was asked to speak at Career Day at Desert Springs Middle School. That's always fun. I usually go to these elementary schools, and I've done it in the past, and you do about 2 hours and a couple different classrooms. I showed up to the middle school, and they gave me an agenda. I was there for 4 hours, 8 classes straight. So God bless those teachers at the middle school. They do a wonderful job, and it was very enlightening to hear what our middle school students had to say about their city. Little debate on a couple things, but we got through it. Also attended on the 24th, which was a couple days before that. I had a very busy day. I attended the Riverside County Transportation Commission Budget and Implementation meeting. There was quite a few financial documents on there, some refinancing of some bonds, nothing really directly pertaining to Desert Hot Springs, so I won't bore you with that agenda. The Traffic Relief Strategy Committee was next. Strategic Committee was next. They gave an economic impact study, phase 1, done by the college down there, gosh darn it, UCR, thank you. UCR, and they gave a lot of numbers about the impacts of what is going on with traffic in and around the region. This is leading up to a possible tax measure in 2020, in November of 2020. I kind of spoke about it in the last meeting. So I will continue to update you as that moves forth on the direction that committee will be going with the recommendations to the full committee. Also that evening, we had a joint meeting, the Coachella Valley Association of Governments had a joint meeting of the Transportation Committee and the Executive Committee. The reason for that is there was a proposal by the county supervisor, Emmanuel Perez, to possibly look at a tax measure for the region. So there was a bill passed recently in the last couple of years that a region could be, and now it used to be you had to do county or city levels of tax measures. Now you can actually take a region and do a tax measure within that. The reason that he was considering that was he wants to see more affordable housing and programs for homelessness and possibly transportation all wrapped up into one. It's very broad. It was kind of a mixed bag from all the mayors and leaders in that room, but it left with it being shipped back to the homelessness committee. Sorry. And they are going to do a little more planning on exactly what that would be. I think most of the cities were nervous about what did that mean. Does it mean transportation? Does it mean homelessness? Does it mean affordable housing? And so, not that it was totally thrown out. The county supervisor is actually kind of prepping this for maybe a 2022 election for a measure. So I think a lot more strategic planning needs to be done for that. And then I think those are the comments from my city that I didn't even have a chance to present it to my city council yet. And that was pretty much the consensus around the room. When we started doing the study for a possible tax measure with Riverside County Transportation Commission, we started almost 2 years ago. So there's a lot of planning that has to take place before that should happen. And I think that's the direction we're going. We talked about the senior fair that's coming on 24th, but the week before that, any seniors that are out there, and if you eat lunch at the senior center, I'll be doing an abbreviated State of the City. I try to do it once a year with the seniors, and I'll be doing just a small version during their lunch, probably about 15-20 minutes. And then on May 11th, the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce will be holding the State of the City at the Health and Wellness Center, and you can get tickets via their website or calling them, and they can give you the details to that. There will be seats set aside for no one wanting to attend the event, just to hear the state of the city free of charge on the outskirts there, but not serve lunch. So there is an opportunity for those that cannot pay or do not want to pay. They can still come to the event for the state of the city. With that said, that's all I have. So we're going to get right into our agenda tonight. We do not have any public hearings tonight, so we'll go into the administrative calendar. Item number 3, which is the Community Choice Aggregation, CCA, feasibility study, and our Deputy City Manager, Luke Rainey.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and, Mayor Pro Tem's not here. City Council members. So the item before you is a consideration of approving a feasibility study for the city to consider whether or not to form a community choice aggregation program, which I'm going to refer to from now on as a CCA. I'm going to provide a brief overview of a CCA, and then I have a representative from CalChoice who's going to elaborate a bit on the CalChoice program and how the proposed feasibility study would work in terms of joining their hybrid JPA to share administrative costs. So some basic overviews on a CCA is that they pool the electricity demands from certain jurisdictions, such as city residents, and then use that group to create a purchasing power on behalf of all those who participate. The program uses existing Southern California Edison infrastructure to deliver power in our area, and should the city decide to operate a CCA, each customer within our jurisdiction does have the option to opt out and stay as a direct customer to SCE. So the purpose of a feasibility study is to help the city determine whether or not it is feasible to proceed with operating our own CCA. Back in November of 2017, the City Council considered joining the Desert Community Energy CCA, which is administered via CVAG, and the council decided not to join at that time. They had concerns that the city had not considered other alternatives, and there were also some concerns about the decision not being separated between forming a CCA and then considering which JPA to join at that point. And then there were also concerns about autonomy, because the proposed Desert Community Energy CCA, we would not have autonomy because we are sharing risk across all the participants. So the benefit of not having as much risk is that we lose our ability to make our own decisions. So I wanted to, before I call up Barbara Boswell from Community Choice, I wanted to remind you that the decision today, we are not deciding whether to form a CCA. We are not deciding which JPA to join. The only item before you is to consider whether it is worth the expense to do a feasibility study that will help us answer that question. And then those results will be brought back to the council if you choose to proceed in probably about 6 or 7 months. And at that point, that's when the council would decide whether they wanted to move forward on forming a CCA. So at this point, I'd like to invite Barbara Boswell from Community Choice Energy. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Could we have she has a presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It's my pleasure to be here to present to you an overview of California Choice Energy Authority, also known as CalChoice.
When cities and counties form community choice aggregation programs, or CCAs, they are empowered to purchase and/or generate power on behalf of residents, local businesses, and municipal accounts, often at lower rates and with higher renewable content than investor-owned utilities. The California Choice Energy Authority, CalChoice, was designed to help cities form CCAs without sacrificing local control or taking on the significant liability of a single entity CCA. While some CCA joint power authorities only offer a one-size-fits-all solution, CalChoice is a hybrid JPA that allows each member city to choose the services that are important to them, set their own rates, and purchase energy through CalChoice's network. This model helps all member cities to maintain lower operating costs, generate revenue streams, and retain local control. CalChoice's expert staff have mastered the CCA implementation process through direct experience working in local government and collaborating with municipalities. Backed by a skilled and knowledgeable team, cities that join CalChoice can seamlessly avoid common pitfalls and learn to operate their CCA efficiently. Get the help you need to start your CCA by partnering with CalChoice, the most experienced team in launching and operating municipal or standalone CCAs. For more information, visit CaliforniaChoiceEnergyAuthority.com.
So California Choice Energy Authority is a JPA, a hybrid JPA program that provides operational and administrative support to CCAs that form as city-run, city-operated CCAs. So they're enterprise programs of the city. The city councils are the boards of their individual CCAs, and collectively we work together for the administrative and procurement portions of the CCA program. We have a number of consultants that are experts in providing services to CCA that are part of our team that provides those services. Our current operational members are the town of Apple Valley, Lancaster, Pico Rivera, San Jacinto, and Rancho Mirage. We also have new members that are in process of launching their CCA programs, and that includes the cities of Commerce, Baldwin Park, Hanford, Palmdale, Pomona, and the last one I can't, Santa Paula, and most recently Santa Barbara. So since this was put together, Santa Barbara has joined. So there are a number of different phases in the process of a city to evaluate whether it would like to establish its own city-run CCA program and whether it would like to join CalChoice as part of that. What's before the council for consideration is what we call phase 1, which is the technical study and implementation plan development. The first phase is the technical study. This is really what provides the city with the basic information as to what the dollars and cents look like and what benefit opportunities there are for the city to establish a CCA program and run it as a standalone city. That process takes approximately 3 to 6 months, and the timing really depends on how long it takes for the data, the historical usage data, to come from Southern California Edison, because we would use Desert Hot Springs actual usage data for preparing your technical study. As part of the phase 3, there is an administrative services agreement. That's not what's before you tonight, but should you down the road decide you want to join, there is an agreement between CalChoice and the city of Desert Hot Springs, which establishes the terms and conditions under which we would operate. There's also protections for cities' general funds, which is a primary concern of cities in establishing the program. And those protections are through the use of security and intercreditor and collateral agent agreements. And in essence, what that does is it establishes the revenues collected from the customers as the credit support or collateral for the energy supply contracts. And so the suppliers agree that the only reach they have to the city is this base revenue, and they can't come to the city to offset any other costs that might be incurred that aren't covered by those revenues. And that really is the basis for protecting the general fund. And then there's also a deposit account control agreement for the bank. The bank acts as the third-party administrator and ensures that the funds are managed in compliance with the agreements with the suppliers. As was shown in the video, what differentiates CalChoice from other CCA programs really is in how the governance structure is operated. In a traditional JPA, each of the member agencies have one vote and one member on the board. The risks are shared, and there's really no risk to the individual city. In a single entity or city-run organization, the city has full control in terms of rate setting, determining revenue and programs offered, but also carries the full operating risk and administrative costs. In the hybrid JPA model, the city council has full discretion and control in decision-making with regards to rate setting. All revenue and program decisions, the operating risk is shared through our shared service agreements, and our administrative services are also shared. and that helps to reduce the costs with regards to operations. And that concludes my overview. Again, tonight for consideration is the first phase. It's not a commitment to join CalChoice or to even establish our operating CCA. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you. Luke, anything else?
One last thing. So in the staff recommendation, we're asking for $73,000. $63,000 covers the contract for the phase 1 that she just talked about. And there's another $10,000 required for travel costs for consultants to come down from Sacramento on several occasions. So that's the amount asked before you. In order to go through the feasibility study where we get that question answered, the cost will be about $50,000. So it's a $50,000 question.
I'll open it up to public comments. This time we'll open the mic up. Just come forward, state your name. You'll have 3 minutes. The timer will be on the screen. Anybody like to make comments? Katie? Oh.
I'm good. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Katie Barrows. I'm Director of Energy and Environmental Resources for Coachella Valley Association of Governments. And as Luke mentioned, CVEC has the Desert Community Energy Program. And I just wanted to give you a very quick update. And as you consider community choice, which I'm excited to see you doing, that you would also perhaps give some consideration to Desert Community Energy. Mr. Mayor, if I might just, for time savings, I'm actually here to be excited that you have 2 items on your agenda regarding energy issues and sustainability. And with respect to item 6, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make just a really quick comment there. I'm here to answer any questions about that program. With regard to Desert Community Energy, as I mentioned, we obviously are currently working with 3 cities, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, and Cathedral City in Desert Community Energy. And this spring in April, Palm Springs will be the first to start actually serving customers and launching, which we're all, of course, it's very exciting when that happens. Barbara and her team have done that many times. And the good news is we have great expertise in the community choice world that you all have to benefit from. So I just want to touch on a couple of things very briefly. One of the great benefits of community choice of CCAs is choice. Customers, your residents, your businesses will the first time have an ability to make a choice. And also for DCE, the way our JPA is set up, the individual member agencies also have a choice. So the City of Palm Springs chose to launch this year at 100% green program, and that does result in a slight premium for customers. But every member agency would have the choice, if they wanted to, they could use our Desert Saver program, which actually offers some slight cost savings over Edison. So as each member agency decides to launch, they can make that choice. Another is a focus on local energy sources. Of course, we do have some great resources here. We are in some conversations with some of the local folks, including Windtech, which is, of course, a company that's been around this area for many, many years. There is no charge for participation in DCE to the member agency. So at this point, the 3 members have not made any financial contributions. Of course, there has been contributions of staff time and the very valuable council time that our members as board members contribute, but there is no charge to participate. And then I just want to briefly emphasize, and this is true I think for every CCAs, one of the great opportunities is for local programs suited to our community. And I want to just briefly tell you, in January of this year, DCE, Desert Community Energy, started a utility discount outreach program. We discovered that in those 3 cities I mentioned, there's about 6,000 customers who are eligible for the programs offered by Southern California Edison. What's called the CARE program, FARA. There are several programs, and those can offer as much as a 30% discount to the customer. And we discovered, like I say, there's approximately 6,000 people in the 3 cities I mentioned, Palm Springs, Palm Desert, Cathedral City, who are not enrolled. So we have engaged with Lift to Rise, a local nonprofit, to reach out and try to sign up as many of those folks, because one of the directions our board really wanted to see is we've got folks who are really struggling. Of course, in the summer, utility bills are very high, and this was a way that we could try to help some of those most in need. With that, I just want to applaud your efforts and offer our information. If at such point the city is interested, we'd be happy to make a presentation to the council. It's great that you're doing your research and considering your options. And as always, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thanks for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment on this item? Final call. close public comments. I'll go to council member comments. Mr. Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Having lived in the Pacific Northwest for many years, which is a bastion of public power, I'm a big fan of public power, and so I'm really excited about this opportunity with this. I love the concept of CCA, especially here in Desert Hot Springs with our lower income demographic. If we have an opportunity to lower the energy bills for our residents, even 5 or 10%, that can go an awful long way when you're living on median income, as many of our residents are. The timeline for this one is a bit long, so it's crucial, I think, too, that we act on this now and getting this study piece going, because once we get the study done and we do our due diligence and we have a debate as a council as to whether or not we're going to move forward, and I do hope we do move forward if the numbers pencil out, it takes over 1.5 years, 2 years to get the cycle going before we'll be able to offer those options to our residents. So if we miss that by 1 year, if we push this off into next year, then it'll be 3 years because it runs on a calendar year basis. I've talked a lot with the city manager in Rancho Mirage, who is on this plan. They are thrilled with it, and they love it. So I'm excited again. I like this a lot, and I look forward to getting the results from the study, hopefully sooner than later, and we can move on this. So I'm 100% in favor of this, and I hope we move forward.
Mr. Betts?
I'm too in favor of moving forward with the study. Staff's handled this one very well, bringing it to us as they have of, let's take a look first. When this came to us in November of 2017, it was, hi, here's a CCA and do you want to join? It wasn't the question of, do we want to do this? There wasn't any feasibility study. There was a lot of promises that the energy bills would be lower, and there were concerns raised, and I think we made the right decision not going forward at that time. One of the concerns was, are we as a city going to match what maybe the other cities in the JPA are going to want to do? And as you've seen, it's rolled out already as the big push is to go with the clean energy. And whichever way you feel on that, our demographic in this city is not only people want a 10% higher electric bill. So, there's plenty of time for this debate later in this type of discussion points, but the main point is that, will we actually have lower energy bills? Now we'll have some track record from November 2017 till now. We actually have something we can look at from the cities that are participating in the plans. The other thing came up at the time was, I think there was it was set up based on cities' energy consumption or load, and we have a lot of factories that have gone online since 2017 that's upping, the electric demand in the city. And I don't know how that would have played into the formation of our participation in the other JPA, but I don't think that's a question on this one. It's just a matter of whether or not it's feasible to do it if we have enough energy. So I'm ready to go ahead with this one as far as getting it going through. One concern I have, that this will be discussion, I guess, and if we go with it and roll it out, is that I don't like this problem where people get a piece of mail that looks like any type of advertising from anybody. It looks like, what's this junk mail? But it's really a very important notice that says, hi, you got to make a decision right now, okay? Do you want to stay with Edison, or do you want to go with who you are? And the way these things get set up, they get set up as you must opt out if you want to stay with what you have. And however that gets structured is fine, but it needs to be very clear, hey, pay attention, this isn't just another piece of advertising, and keep the marketing people out of that process and make it look more like something that's going to, anyhow, that's one of the concerns I had back then, and would be this one I'd have going forward. So anyhow, sorry to be so long-winded on that one, but I really want to compliment staff for the way they've brought this forward. Thank you.
Ms. Pye?
I'll make it quick. 73,000, and then you came up with the $50,000 question. So I don't know if I wasn't listening or what.
Basically, I'm asking for the full $73,000 to cover the contract of phase 1, but the first step of phase 1 is the feasibility study, and at that point, we'll have enough data to decide whether we're going to move forward.
Okay, I got you.
The only comments I have is choices. So I love the fact that we're gonna get choices. We'll have options to pick from, and I work in a small community that's sub-metered, and I deal with electric bills every month because I have to give my residents electric bills each month, and if they're calculated wrong, or try to explain why Edison charges a delivery fee and a generation fee, and that's, you know, I only use $60 worth of energy. Yeah, you did, but you also have to generate that. Well, they're double dipping. Well, sort of, kind of, but that's all the argument. So this is great to hear that we'll have choices and to see how we can lower the energy, because as we all know, we pay some of the highest rates in the country right here in Southern California and in Edison's district. So this will be really well taken if we can save our community money on their electric cost. Lots more questions, but I'm gonna wait to see the study done first. Maybe those will answer those as we get into making a choice in the future here for our residents.
I move for staff's recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? I see none. Please vote.
Can we move up agenda item 6?
Motion passes unanimously.
Sure. I've had a request to move item 6 up. Discussion items, consider a letter of support for the Inland Empire Regional Energy Network. And Mayor Pro Tem Griffith obviously isn't here because he's sick, but Mr. Gardner said he can take this on.
I will do my best to do this. As his Mayor Pro Tem Griffith and I both, I'm his alternate on the CVAG Energy and Environment Committee, and I served on that committee most of last year as well. So I have a peripheral knowledge of this item, and I'm glad that Katie is here if we have any further questions. But long story short, the Coachella Valley is under the SoCal Regional Energy Network, and so far the SoCal REN has implemented just one program in the valley, in Rancho, and their majority of their focuses tends to be in the Southern California, LA area, giving the greater Coachella Valley a lack in the share of program funding. The funding comes from a charge on utilities that all customers pay. It's one of those wonderful little items that the mayor alluded to that shows up on your utility bill, and it's a few cents there, here and there. It means that the residents of the Coachella Valley are paying into this thing, but we're not getting any benefits out of it. And for that reason, there's an effort underway led by the CVAG Energy and Environment Committee to form our own regional energy network here in conjunction with the Western Riverside Council of Governments and the San Bernardino Council of Governments and CVAG tying together to form this REN to allow more funding to be used out at this end of Southern California. So in order to accomplish this, CVAG has been has asked all of the cities here in the Coachella Valley to send a letter of support for the formation of our own local regional energy network. And tonight, all we're doing is following our procedures and asking that on a future council agenda that we have a discussion on a letter and whether or not to approve that letter and move it on forward down the pipeline to CVAG and hopefully be able to form our own regional network and get some share of that money. And some of the things they use that money for are low-income resident retrofits for insulation or higher efficiency energy appliances, other sorts of conservation things like that. So we'd love to be able to get some of that money and use it here in the valley, and this is our first step towards going down that. So, does that help?
Yeah, this is to consider putting a letter of support on the next agenda. Is there anybody in the public? Katie, do you have more comments to this at this point? Anyone in the public wanting to make public comments on this item? If there's council has questions, I'll let them ask you. At this point, I have Mr. Betts in the queue.
Well, we're just moving this one to bringing it to the next
Correct.
Council meeting.
This is to consider if we want to put the letter of support on the next council meeting for discussion.
Yeah, well, there's some reference here in the staff report of the CVAG Energy and Environment Resources Committee from February 13th, 2020. It says that the executive committee authorized the executive director to enter into an agreement. How have the votes been going on this down there at the CVAG executive committee? Has it been like unanimous action down there? Has there been any cities that have said, no, we don't want to do this?
Well, right now, after that Energy and Environment Committee was last month's Energy and Environment Committee, so this is our first chance to bring it forward. I don't know if any other cities, Katie, do you know if anybody else
there a
has brought
vote?
it up? So.
It was unanimous votes? Okay. All right, so I'm certainly in favor of moving it forward to the next meeting.
All right, is that a motion?
Yeah, you can take it as a motion.
Is there a second? Any more discussion? Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very much. Awesome. Item number 4 is a resolution to forgive the $15,126,594 loan originally to the Desert Hot Springs Investment Fund LLC to finance the construction of the city's Health and Wellness Center. This will be our finance director, Mr. Buckheim.
All right, thank you, Mayor and council members. So in July 2012, the city entered into a financing arrangement using the New Market Tax Credit Program, which is provided for under the Federal Internal Revenue Code. This allows financing institutions to invest capital to community development entities such as the city in order to do for improvement projects in exchange for tax credits over a period of 7 years. So that the 7 years. So the city was loaned through its limited liability fund and the Health and Wellness District over $15 million for the construction of the Health and Wellness Center. Opportunity Fund, who was the investor at the time, actually held ownership of the loan, but through a prearranged agreement, the investor sold its ownership in the loan to the city for $1,000 in July 2019. So now the city owns the loan that was given for the property and the building that it also owns. So basically right now the city owns a loan to itself. So what this resolution is to do is the city is now going to forgive the loan that it owes to itself, and the net effect it would actually have on the city's financial or bottom line would become a zero. It wash out. So staff recommends you approve this resolution to forgive the loan.
Do we have any public comments on this item? See nobody coming forth. I'll move on to council member comments. Mrs. Pye.
I don't know who to ask, the city manager or you, but in the staff, yes, in the staff report, it reports the call as July 12th, and the resolution, it reports it as July 13th, which is it?
So according to the original loan agreements and documents, it was performed on July 13th, 2012.
Thank you.
Mr. Betts.
Just, this is one of the last pieces of this building becoming ours completely and totally? Where does this fit into the scheme of all that?
So this is actually the last piece of undoing the financial transactions. This is the building and property is already in the city's name.
It's titled in our name?
Yes.
Well, we didn't have a big celebration. There weren't fireworks that went off.
Are you gonna raise money for fireworks?
Well,
I'm
that's a future agenda item. I mean,
Joking. All right. Was that all you had?
it was, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Motion to approve staff recommendation for giving $15,126,599 of a loan that the city holds on the rest of that.
That's good enough. Make your motion. Is there a second? Any more discussion? Please vote.
There was a lot of concern about this one, by the way, on the social
Motion
media.
passes unanimously.
Item number 5 is the annual housing element progress report, and this is Community Development Director, Ms. Deming.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. State law mandates that all cities and counties submit to their legislative bodies or city council an annual report on the status of the housing element and progress towards its implementation. The Governor's Office of Planning and Research and the State Department of Housing and Community Development will receive a copy of the progress report after it's reviewed and accepted by the City Council. The report is attached, contained in Exhibit 1, and it's on their prescribed form, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any public comments on this? I see nobody coming forth. I'll go to City Council comments. I have nobody in the queue. Would anybody like to make any comments? All right, motion to approve staff recommendation. Is there a second? Any more discussion? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
The consent calendar was approved in whole at the beginning of the meeting. Future agenda items could be discussed with the city manager's office. Was there anybody that was not able to make public comments at the beginning of the meeting that would like to do so now?
10 a.m., Wednesday, April 1st.
Was anybody going to comment on Mission Springs Water District getting first place in the water tasting?
Any other public comments? All right, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.